All right, guys, so we're talking about a new series that we're doing called the Question and Answer series. You guys asked some really amazing questions at the end of our Cafeteria Christianity series. You wrote them down on a board as we did an experience talking about what we believe about God. And these questions were just too good to not talk about. So for the rest of December and the first week of January, we're going to talk about them at youth group. Not so much me like giving a sermon or anything, but more us sitting around and thinking through these and discussing them out loud together. And it was really awesome this past week. And we're just going to go through one question at a time in each video so stuff doesn't get too confuzzling around, right? So the first question, which I think is a really big question, and that if we don't answer it, none of the other questions matter, would be, how do we know that Jesus really loves us? It's a great question. How do we know that Jesus really cares for us? We always hear it. We say, Jesus loves you guys. Like I say it all the time. And you're like, is that really true? And we need to know that's true before we can go into having a relationship with Jesus or trusting him or even thinking that this whole Christianity thing is real or worth anything. If Jesus doesn't really love us, it doesn't matter, does it? So, how do we know that Jesus really loves us? The first way we know Jesus loves us is it's almost Christmas time, right? Think about this. Jesus is the Son of God. He's present with God, and he came down to earth to be with us, to live as a human being. So think about this. Like if you were a billionaire, it would be like if you were a billionaire and you sold everything you had, like you had a mansion and all this stuff, and you sold all of that, moved out of the mansion, and moved down onto the streets with homeless people. And instead of paying for the mansion and all that, you had all that money still, and you used all that money to pay for stuff for other people, to take care of their health care, to make sure that they had stuff to eat, right? Like to keep warm, like that you gave everything you had so those people could be safe and warm and feel loved and cared about, and you gave up everything you had. That's like a small picture of what Jesus really did for us. Because think about it, he was up in heaven, the place where we all think we want to go, right? Like a place where we think everything is good, and he left all of that, the safety of that, and came down to earth to feel the kind of world we live in, to feel the sin and the messed upness and the temptations that we all feel, right? He did that on his own accord. We didn't ask him to do it. He said, I'm going to do this because I need to take care of these people. He gave up everything for that. Not only did he give up everything by coming down to earth, but he also died on a cross for us, right? You know what happened. He got nails put through both of his hands, through his feet. He got nailed to a cross, and he hung there until he died, right? Until he had a heart attack. His lungs didn't work anymore. But before he even got nailed to a cross, he was beaten viciously, right? Publicly in front of everyone. They stripped him of his robes, and they chained him to a block of stone or wood, and they beat him. And then they took this thing called the cat of nine tails. It has 9 leather straps on it that have bone and glass and rocks tied into it, and they beat him on his back with it. And sometimes it would get stuck in there, and then they'd have to rip it out. Jesus would have died probably from the wounds that he got from that beating. He did that for you. Remember, he came and took our punishment. It would be like if someone went and you did something and you had to go to jail, and someone stepped up and said, no, I'll go to jail for you, right? If the death penalty, that's what we deserve, right? Like, that's what the wages of sin is. It says the wages of sin is death. We deserve the death penalty. And Jesus came in and said, they deserve the death penalty, yeah, but I'm going to take it for them, right? And he was completely innocent. That's the most amazing thing. That's how we know Jesus loves us, that he gave up his entire life for us. He came down from heaven, and not only that, he gave up his life. Jesus said this in Matthew chapter 20, verse 28. He said, your attitude must be like my own, for I, the Messiah, Jesus, did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give my life as a ransom for many. Jesus came to earth, got born into a human body to deal with pain and suffering and sickness and see people around him that he cared about die, to feel pain, right? And he knew that he was going to be born in an earthly body just to die, right? He knew that before he did it. He knew what was going to happen, and he still did it. He made that choice because he loves you. Just like a parent loves a child, right, and would probably give up their life for it. If Janine and I had a child, there's no doubt that I would give up my life for that child, right? And Jesus felt the exact same way. He wants us to be part of his family, and he looks after us, and he says, I don't want anything bad to happen to you. So he chose to die for us. That's how we know he loves us. Hope that makes some sense. If you have any more questions about it, go ahead and keep asking them. Remember, stay relentless with stuff. Keep asking the questions, and it's awesome to wrestle with them. Love you guys. God bless.